Hey cutie pies, I'm Lanikia and you're watching a new edition of What Happened on the Soaps Genearl Hospital. Today is Thursday, April the 21st, 2022. Alright, so let's get into it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I can't hold you. I'm going to get us about a 6. I just wasn't entertained by it. I guess because, I don't know. I don't know why. It's just, I wasn't entertained by it. So we start off and we see, who we want to go to. Let's just wrap them up. Austin canceled his date with Maxie. Something came up. I don't know if it was the office or whatever, but he can't make it. So she's like, "Oh no, it's fine." And then Spinelli shows up, and he's like, "Hey Maxie, what you doing?" And she says, "Oh, Austin canceled his date, and I was looking forward to it because it would get my mind off Britt." Now Spinelli has been shopping, and the person who the salesperson who helped him made him overbuy. And so Maxie cleaned him. I mean, he was already nice looking, but Maxie cleaned it up, took some of the accessories away. And so she was like, "Okay, this is good." And so he was like, so she was like, it would take my mind off of Britt's date. So she tells him about how Britt went on this dating site and she was meeting her first match tonight. And he was like, "Okay." She was like, he was like, "So what do you want to do?" And she was like, "I really want to go over there and check it out." She done talked Spinelli into this, and he's like, "Let's go." And so they go over there, and they to where Britt is for her date. Now over there is Britt waiting on her date, and he has not showed up. So Britt is getting stood up, and so we see Drew talking to Mia, who is a life coach. Mia is Cameron's wife in real life, very, very pretty, very gorgeous, but I don't listen. It was uncalled for. Like he just doesn't know what he want to do with his life. He don't know if he want to be an ELQ, Aurora, both. He doesn't know. But anyway, she leaves, and Britt's like, "That's how you end your dates, with a handshake?" And he was like, "No, she's a life coach, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life and everything." And so she starts talking about she don't know what she want to do with her life as far as she's kind of happy, but she feels the pressure to date and everything from her aunt Liesel. And he was like, "Okay, I get that because." They're both bored with their lives trying to figure things out, and then Maxie comes in and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Drew was your match. This is amazing." And because she told him about the whole dating thing, and Britt is like, "No, he was not my match." And she was like, "Oh." And she has to tell him, because he knew she was they're supposed to meet someone, or he knew she was on a dating site, but Drew didn't know she was there, supposed to meet someone that night. And so she confessed that, "I got stood up." And they was like, "Maybe he's just running late." She said 30 minutes late with no text, no phone call. "I got stood up." And so I'm like, was Spinelli her date? Because he acted really emotional when she said, "It is what it is. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this." And he's like, "Don't give up on the site." And I was like, aren't they supposed to do that? Has she seen a picture of them, or is it one of those where you match off personality and you meet, like you see, hi mama, whenever you meet each other, you see the picture, you see each other. It's not about pictures or anything. I don't know, but Spinelli is just like real. Don't give up on it, Brett. Anybody would be a fool not to want to be with you and all that. So Maxie said, "All right, let's go." And so Spinelli is leaving, but he tells Drew, "I'm trying something new." And Drew said, "Hey, I know about that or whatever." And so they get outside, and Maxie said, "What is that all about, Britt?" And he's like, "I don't know. I just want her to be encouraged." Yes, on her dating excursions and everything. And Britt was like, "Spinelli is nice, but," and she's like, "Never mind." And so her and Drew have a drink. I don't know. I was in and out. I was in and out of that. I'm sorry. It was boring to me. So then we see, where do we go to next? Cam and Spenser. So they locked up, and Jordan is like, "What happened?" She tells Rory what happened, and he tells her, exactly what down. Spenser was antagonizing Cameron. He was being a jerk, and Cameron punched him. He said, and then Spenser hit me or whatever, and she was like, "What?" And he was like, "You said you wanted to make things straight and narrow, so that's what I did." And so he said, "What's the deal with them?" And then Laura said, Why are my two grandsons locked up? And Rory looked at Jordan all buck-eyed and worried. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Ain't no special treatment here, right, Jordan? So then we see Spenser and Cam talking. Spencer's like, you about to blow the play. And he was like, me and Jocelyn are not getting along because of you, but don't worry about it now. Since you ain't got me locked up, we're cool. And he said, I'm not going to press charges on you and stuff. And Spencer said, and Cam said, but you need to be worried about yourself because you hit a cop. And that's an offense. And you could be going back to prison for that. And so then Spencer starts to worry. And so we find out Spencer called Laura and Kim said, you called Grandma? But Cam called Finn or whatever. And so after Rory tells Laura everything that goes on, she goes down and she tells Cam, you're released. And he was like, hi, Grandma, and bye, and all that. And she was like, go ahead and go up. Finn is waiting for you. And she tells Spencer's like, what about me? And she was like, what about you? Yeah, I need to let you stay in here. And Spencer says, it's not my fault. That cop, I hit that cop on accident or whatever. And she says, you haven't learned anything. You know, you can't just do stuff and then be let off the hook and everything. And he was just like, Spencer is don't care or whatever. And she says, what is going on with you and Cam? And he says, nothing's going on. But she heard them when she first came down about, Spencer saying you're ruining the plan and everything. Just stick to the plan. And she like, what plan? But they ain't tell her. And so they go upstairs and they tell Rory it's up to him if he wants to press charges. They let Cam go. He leaves with Finn. Finn calls Chase and everything and says we're on our way over. And they're like, oh, Chase is like, okay, cool. I gotta tell you something that happened with Aiden, but Elizabeth's sleeping. Everything is good right now. And he was like, all right, cool. So then Spencer is there, and he was being so condescending to Rory. Like, all you had to do was apologize, and you won't get to go to prison. And he's being condescending, and Laura's in the background, like, and Rory said, all right, well, no big deal. We're going to let it go. So they let it go, and he doesn't press charges or anything like that. And Jordan was like, Laura said, I'm sorry about this. And Jordan was like, no, no big deal. She almost said it was like an overreaction. First of all, ma'am, don't do that. Don't do that because you miss everything is we need to prosecute everything, play by the books, go by the rules and stuff. Rory did exactly that. He did what he was supposed to do. So don't go into Laura talking about it was an overreaction. And then Spencer, see, Jordan gets it, and she said that's Commissioner Ashford to you. It really is Commissioner Ashford. But she tells Spencer, what do you have going on? He tried to miss her. She said, don't you ever dismiss me again or whatever. She said, you have not learned your lesson. You could be in prison right now, whatever. Spencer's a jerk. He don't care. Like I try to like Spencer, but I can't because he's just an excuse me. He's just a jerk. So can you cut that down, please? So then we see that he going about his business. He's still gonna try to do this with Esme. It's taking too long. I don't see how this plan gonna work, but it is what it is. So then we see that who do we go to now? I'm just gonna stick with him. So then we see that Chase is at Elizabeth's house or whatever, and Finn had been over earlier, and he says, "I got the cameras all set up. Everything's gonna be fine." And Elizabeth is upstairs sleeping. Finn leaves. So then Aiden comes over, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I rode my bike. I need your help with something." He was like, "What you need my help with?" Aiden bought this Ouija board. Y'all remember when he was talking to Lucy and all that? So he bought this Ouija board, and he wants help from Chase to use it. So Chase thinking it is nothing, it's just pretend play and whatever. He uses the Ouija board with Aiden, and he says, "Is this Franco here?" And the lights go out, and Aiden gets scared, and he said, "It was nothing. That's probably just the breaker flipped or whatever. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize you was taking it this serious or whatever." And he said, "Don't worry, I'm gonna find out who's doing this." So he calls Kevin to come get him or whatever. And so then we see Chase is sleeping, but we see a shadow over him. So Chase hops up. He looks at the camera and he goes running. He goes running, I guess, to go upstairs. I don't know. But the next thing we know, Cam and Finn come in and Chase is knocked out on the floor. I said, Lord, Elizabeth done knock Chase out because you know this is who doing this to herself or whatever. So then we see, so now we go to Curtis' shop. Okay, mama. So now we go to Curtis's, the Savoy. So Miss Wu having her game night or whatever, and people coming through, and Curtis says, where my info? And she said, you gonna get your info? And he was like, we had a deal, stick to your deal. She said, I always keep my deals, whatever. So then Sonny come through. And she was like, Sonny, what you doing here? And he was like, I just came to see how I was going or whatever. And then she see Brad come out. Now Brad go to Curtis and Brad tells Curtis, you ain't, one of these men say he wants this cheap liquor or whatever and you ain't got it. Because Curtis said, I only keep top line. I don't keep that cheap mess. And so Miss Wu come over and she said, go get it for him, Brad. And he was like, okay. And so she tells Curtis, he gonna learn. He said, I sure hope so. And then so she go back over there to Sonny, and Sonny said, "Well, I only see one mistake you have made, and that's hiring that lying weasel Brad." And Miss Wu said, "Don't worry about Brad. I got him under my supervision. Everything is gonna be good." And so they said, "Well, I'm finna go on back to this back." And she said, and he was like, she was like, "What you doing going to the back?" He was like, "It'll be cool. I'm finna just go on back here though." And she was like, "Go on, Sonny." So he go on to the back, and then Brad comes back with the beer and everything. And at one point, he had said one of the gamblers' name. It was the judge or something. And she said, "My people, you can't be saying the names out loud. What's wrong with you? Because he's not fit for this job you want to throw him in. But it is what it is. Something happen, and he'll get used to it." So then Sonny comes back from the back and everything, and he talks to Curtis, and he said, "Oh, I see you got your found a way to get your information." And so Curtis was like, "What you talking about? You know what he talking about?" He said, "All right, Curtis." And Curtis said, "No, it's just business or whatever." And Sonny was like, "All right." He told Miss Wu, "You're doing a good job," and Sonny leaves. So then TJ comes up and talks to, well, this is all going on at the same time, but anyways, TJ comes up and says Marshall was upset. He said, you hired somebody to spy on my grandpa, to try to find information on my grandpa. And Curtis says, "I'm trying to figure out what he's hiding." And he was like, "What do you think he's hiding?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I don't know what he's hiding, but that's what I'm trying to figure out or whatever." He said, "He gonna be mad when he talks to you." He said, "Well, I got a few questions of my own." All right then, Curtis. So then Curtis goes to Miss Wu and he says, "Where is the file?" And she said, "You'll get the file first thing in the morning or whatever." I'm like, Curtis, how you ain't in control of this? Oh. But anyways, that was it with them. So then we go to Marshall, and he over there talking to Epiphany, and she's telling him, why are you tripping? Why are you trying to leave? And he says, "I'm trying to leave because he don't want his all his secrets coming out." And Marshall overstepped, and it's just better for him to go. And Epiphany tells him that's a coward's move, and I thought you were trying to build your family again, and now you talking about you gonna leave, and everything, and like, what are you doing? And he just says, "I gotta go because Curtis is overstepped his boundaries and he doesn't trust me, and I left before to keep them safe." And I don't know what's going on with this. They're moving too slow. They're moving too slow in this. Elizabeth, everything is moving too, like, all these storylines need to be wrapped up by this time next month. Because move on to something else, especially this Elizabeth storyline. It has went on too long for me. Too long. And Curtis still don't know anything about Marshall. Like, you don't know nothing about Marshall after looking into all this. What it is, what it is. And that was the Genearl Hospital today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow for a new edition of what happened on the soap Genearl Hospital.